So I started out with a piece of maple here. It's about 4 by 4 and probably 6 or 7 inches long. So this is a really soft piece of wood. Actually, both the body and the hat are. So I started turning this. I started out with the spindle gouge, and in fact I used the spindle gouge almost the whole time. The wood is, it's not punky, but it is really soft. And if it was for a different project, like a, I don't know, stopper or something, I wouldn't even have used it. But this is not going to be handled, so it really doesn't matter. So I just kind of got the bottom rounded over. So what I'm going to do now is put a recess in the bottom. I need to hang on to this at the very end so I can put a little divot in the top of it. I'm just using the parting tool, and then I use the easy rougher to clean up that little spot in the center there. Now I'll switch back over and start shaping it. So Christmas craft season is here. I know it's not Christmas or even November, December, but it is here, and if you didn't start making stuff a month ago, you're behind. So get busy. So this is going to be, it's a little, I want to say like a gnome little guy, but I think these would be cute in like sets, or even, do like a little family of them, different sizes. This one's pretty big, but yeah, you could do them doing different sizes, different style on the body or the hat. I think it'd be a cute little project. So they're pretty straightforward. Just kind of round it over the bottom, and I'm going to bring it up kind of like just a nice taper to it, and then that recess is going to help me here in just a second. So like I said, it's soft wood. I just got it true. It's pretty, there was a bunch of torn grain, so I sanded it all smooth, and I'm going to put the oil on at the very end. I'm switching jaws here real quick on the Easy Wood chuck. Help support the companies that support our community. So now I'll get rid of all this material here, get it all cleaned up. So for projects like this where, the wood is absolutely just beautiful, but it's not a good solid piece of wood, one thing you could do is stabilize them. But for something like this, it's just going to sit on a shelf, so it's not something I really need to spend the time or money actually stabilizing. So I used the #1 hollower and just cupped it out just a little bit. So I'm going to have his head is going to be actually in there. So I don't need to do much, just a little bit. And then I went ahead and ran through all the rest of the grits and right back up to 600. Changed the jaws again. There was a lot of jaw changing in this project. So this piece here, a little bit smaller, and it is going to be the hat. And basically the same process here. I went ahead and knocked all the corners off, got it true, and then we'll kind of make a hat shape, and went through all the sanding process on that too. And on this, right there where the tailstock is, I cupped that out a little bit too. I even stopped about halfway, and I know the tool is sharp, and I went over and resharpened it just to see if that would help at all, and it didn't. So even the sharp tool isn't working with this. So there's a little bit of where it was really soft at the end, so I took that down. before I got it too thin, normally I would just turn that little nub off, but because the wood, like I said, is soft, I didn't want it to actually break, so I just cut it off with the pole saw here, and then went ahead and took the number 1 hauler again and cupped it out. So normally I would, this is top of the hat I'm working on right here. Normally I would bring that down a lot smaller before I started sanding, but again, I spent a lot of time worried about how soft this piece of wood was. I didn't want it to break, so I went ahead and sanded this part of it first before I brought that other part down, in case it, when I turned the rest of it down, it did come off, and I didn't want to have to hand sand the whole thing. So once I got that done, went ahead and brought the rest of this down. You'll see here in a sec after I sand, I just took a couple of swipes with the pole saw and it just fell off. So it's not very strong. So it was still holding, so I went ahead and ran through the rest of the grits, got all that cleaned up. Yeah, it didn't take much. So this is a piece of poplar, and this is going to be the head. And the reason I use this is because the poplar won't take the oil. It won't change the color of it. So it will really stand out from the piece. The maple, and especially being soft like that, it will really darken up once we get the oil on it, and it won't really soak into the poplar, so it'll still be a nice contrast. So if you're doing little things like this, like a piece of burl or something, if you wanted to do like a walnut face, I would do a more straight grain piece of maple, because it's not going to darken up as much as burl will. So the walnut would pop a lot more against a straight grain piece of maple than it would burl. So and vice versa here, it's the maple burl is going to really darken up and this won't. So just got that turned, took the pole saw and got it cleaned off, or cut off. And this is a nice solid piece of wood, so it took a lot longer. I still ended up dropping it though too. And then I'm going to turn with the rest of it a little nose. On this one, I didn't want to drop it, so I went ahead and grabbed a hold of it. I didn't want to spend half an hour looking for it in the shavings. So then I took the head over to the drill press, drilled a hole into it, and we'll put the nose in. And I put just a little bit of glue on, wood glue on there. Actually, a little bit too much. I end up wiping it off here in a second. Don't need much. Then we'll take and put a little bit on the body in that little cup there, put the hat on. What I did is set that in there, let it set up for about an hour, went and had dinner, came back, and then we'll put the hat on. So I used the chuck there to make sure it didn't fall over. I kind of slid it back. It looks a little bit crooked because it is when we stopped filming, but we walked around it and got it straightened up. And then came back the next day and put the walnut oil on it. So this stuff, it really just brings out the richness in the wood. I just love the way it looks. So I basically just dripped it all over there and wiped it down with a paper towel. There we go. I got it all done. So I got all the oil on. Again, it is out of soft maple and some poplar. He's 11 inches tall, 2.5 inches at the base. So little stuff like this sells great at the craft shows, and it is craft season. So get out in the shop and start making stuff. All right. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next time. Take care.